do Black people have a leader?
No, not right now.
Or not?
We don't.
Do we have a leader?
In today's time, no.
I don't. I think we have influencers. I think we have people that have platforms and enough visibility to talk to folks, and they can kind of skew, opinions whichever way they go based on their influence. As far as leader, people step into those shoes or in front of those cameras. I think even though we don't all agree that you can represent us,
right.
We don't have people I guess collectively that we all can say we'll get behind this person because they on the up and up. I mean,
I think we as a people don't have enough solid structure in itself to say that anybody can speak for us at this point, right? I feel like we haven't even gotten to a point where we could collaborate and come together on a lot of big issues for us to have somebody stand up and say, now I represent the voice of these people.
Right.
Like we don't have that because there's no unison in our voice, period.
Right.
So to have somebody be a leader and say, I represent, this is how we're thinking, this is how we're feeling, regardless, that's going to be split, right? You're going to have people who are like, I absolutely do not agree with that.
Yeah.
Even
celebrities tend to take the helmet.
And I believe that's
Yeah.
disappointing.
They do.
Yeah.
I believe
have
that's
most-
very, very disappointing that we don't have.
We're never going to have
especially
it.
2025.
At least now, moving forward. To be honest with you, you have those who want to sit there, look good on camera, and who wants to be social media. It's all likes driven.
Payday, right?
Payday, and then opportunity. Because you got a lot of people who show face but no action.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people don't
Q
show
was saying
like.
that.
There's for example, my family donated like $500,000 to cancer societies, donated school books, building wells in Africa. That's not highlighted because it's not what the agenda is set.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because you deal with these like media person, all you see is talk, but then they did a march and that's it. That's another thing too. When let's talk about the Black Lives Matter. That was full of shit. I'm gonna go sit there and say that because they catching these people having parties and drinking from the money.
BLM.
Yeah, BLM. They had the whole partying thing after they got the money.
Right.
And then after the looting stopped, you don't see nobody going in the neighborhood saying, stop this.
Right.
They looted the rich and then went back to their neighborhoods and loot that.
Well, it seems that when it comes to organizations, non-profit, whatever, they always spend more money on the parties than they do towards the actual research.
Fundraising. No, I'm
Right? Fundraising. Like it's like, I saw something for leukemia or something, or one of these.
Susan B. Komen.
And I could not believe the salaries that the staff were making,
Given.
how much the parties cost versus what was actually being put towards the research and curing whatever the illness is.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. So did you guys hear what Myron was saying on Piers Morgan's show, whatever?
Kind of loop us in on exactly because you have more insight on that.
Yeah.
situation,
So
right?
it was two white females. It was a black guy. I can't think of his name. I think he's always on one of the news networks. Obviously Myron from Fresh and Fit and Piers Morgan or whatever. So I believe they were addressing a viral clip of a white woman who was speaking to a young black boy, I think, or girl, and she called him a nigger or whatever. So
I saw that.
yeah.
Okay.
So Myron was basically speaking for black people and basically saying that black people have been exercising black privilege in America for however long, right? And we basically running the victim Olympics, right? We get to use the N-word. We always make excuses. And basically he was minimizing police brutality, basically saying, hey, what about black on black crime, right? And people are starting to do reaction videos to it. And I'm like, okay, whenever I hear someone make that comparison, first and foremost, when you're comparing black on black crime to police brutality, I'm like, that's ignorant because criminals are supposed to do criminal shit. Cops are supposed to protect and serve.
Too.
So, okay, black on black crime is irrelevant when it comes to cops. Cops are not supposed to kill people. They're supposed to be like the neighborhood hero or whatever,
Exactly.
right?
Serve and
But-
protect.
Yeah, and people were basically saying that like this dude is a Arab or whatever. His family, he's not an FBA, Foundational Black America, whatever. His family came over a few years ago. So how do you know about the black experience everything that we've been through, the mental state we're in, based on whatever.
Doesn't.
So it just kind of blew me because I'm like, okay, dude makes some valid points. I kind of watch his show here and there, but I'm like, when he was talking like that, I'm like, all right, this dude is a fucking idiot.
I'll openly say this. That's a very so first thing with the black community. I feel like it's open range. Anybody could speak for us, and I hate to say that, but I will say after 9/11, that did change that population. Just not on a level as us, but towards us a little bit, with some of the with a lot of the hate slurs going on. Because I think America always needs an enemy to look at. But I do think, out of pocket, if you not understand the whole experience of what your ancestors went through, then it started to be like, okay,
So even then, right, he was saying that racism basically doesn't exist or whatever. Everybody's racist. And I'm like, I don't know, is it me, right? And what do y'all think about this? When people say, because I've heard people say black people can't be racist. I disagree with that. I believe everybody can be racist, but as blacks, we don't have the ability to oppress anyone.
I hate when people say that.
Right? I don't know, right? I mean, maybe people kind of look at it. I guess context needs to be added from person to person.
I just think that's because there's not a clear definition or an understanding of the difference between racist and prejudice. So that's the reason why that gets taken.
Yeah, because racism is a double-sided coin, right? Like, you should be racist in the sense of being about your people, right?
It's putting your own race as
so that's the
elite.
positive side of it. But again, when you're racist, like, hey, screw you, I want to kill you now because you're from this race or whatever, and I don't even know you. Different story. But for him to sit there and say racism, everybody's racist, and basically it's victim Olympics when it comes to black people, I'm like, dude, really? The fact that he can get on TV and say this, and like
I don't
you were
even
saying,
know why we entertaining this nigga.
Yeah,
like,
there's
he's
no
not-
ramification.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we giving it way too much attention. Like, that's what he won't. Like,
Exactly.
we're giving it way too much attention because he literally said that. I feel like out of I'm gonna get a bunch of attention for this, right? And
That's the
then
game.
and then we fall into the loop of just continuing to give him exactly what he's looking for. He know he's not black. Right? Like, he knows that.
He looks
knows
like an
his
Arab,
own
right?
lineage. He knows he doesn't have that struggle.
Right.
But the big thing with black people is if you don't stand for shit, then how can you expect anybody to not come in and be like, I'm going to talk for it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's standing for shit. So if you
Facts.
don't stand for anything, then or have a person who's like, I'm going to be the voice and then listen to my people and their needs and then speak that out, then we kind of leave that up to anybody to be able to
so let me
grab.
ask,
And
let me
this
ask
is
you
exactly
this.
what occurred.
Let me ask you this, Nurse Ron. When you say we
Yeah.
don't stand for anything, right? Do you believe a contributing component to that comes from integration?
No, a contributing part of this and an integral part of it is that we are surviving. We are constantly in survival mode, whether that means stepping on each other, stepping on other people, whatever that is. And when a person is in a state of, I need to fucking eat, they don't care who they step on. And that's the state that black people are in. So when you're constantly just trying to figure out how to fucking eat, how to move, how to pay bills, there's no room for nothing else.
Survival of the fittest.
The system is created for that, right? When you are constantly in a state of survival, you cannot grow, think, grow, lead. You can't step into those spaces.
Right.
So that's the biggest problem. And when we're talking about integration, right? So black people wanting to integrate or be equal to or whatever or be accepted, that's just part of that survival, right? Like, to be accepted means, a white person is going to think that I'm important, or a white person is going to give me a chance, they give me an opportunity, right? So that all comes back to that. So that's the biggest problem that we have, is that we're just trying to fucking fight and survive out here.
You know what, I'm going to add on to that. I agree. And then now that too, it's like within us, we got levels of it. First of all, most people in the media, I think personally, it's been mastered to the point the person who talks the most, as long as they're bringing the name up, they're going to research them. It's almost like a marketing tool. And I'll say, adding on to what she says, like, as soon as one person get a leg up, we're going to hate that person because we're trying to pull that person down because of the possibilities that they can grow, they can succeed.
And you're not.
And the biggest thing right now, you got the haves and the have-nots and the make-its. Then it affects the next generation.
It's a sickness, man.
It's a sickness, and not only that too, it's going to the point where it's hard to be liability for growth. Because you got these leaders who got this platform to speak to people, but the problem is they don't want to speak to elevate anybody because they're stingy in a spot.
They're afraid too to lose what they have.
Is it stingy or is it?
I call it stingy.
They're afraid to
it's
lose what they
scared.
have, right?
Yeah, I call it scared and stingy, and the reason why I say that is because they want to be a point where I'm gonna keep this secret. I'm not gonna let anybody know,
Maybe in some
and then I'm gonna
cases.
have the power here.
But trust me, they're
That's
being.
tough. When certain people, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When certain people work to get a certain place in life, right? You can't jump out the window and just tell everybody, after you done struggled for 10 years or 20 years trying to figure something out. You can't say that they're stingy because they like, look, man, I finally did what I got to do.
I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the ones like what he said. Dude, he's speaking on a platform of something he never been. It's like Kim Kardashian saying, "I got those braids."
The cornrows.
The cornrows. She named it something else, and she's having that platform saying that. I'm not talking about the ones who actually worked 30 years to get the spot. I'm talking about people who got a mic and start talking and grab traction from the mic and saying pointless, irrelevant nonsense.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. So going back to like the whole integration aspect of it, as far as why we don't. So like take LeBron, right? I think Nike, the contract he signed with Nike, it was worth, I don't know, a lot of money, close to like $1 billion. He signed for so many years or whatever. He shorted himself big time because he wanted to be the first black billionaire in the NBA currently, because he's comparing himself to black people. Instead, he should have charged them like $40 billion because that's what he was worth, right? But because he's looking at it from such a small, or I don't know, racial component, he shorted himself a lot of extra. So that's one side of that coin as far as wanting to be validated or integrated or whatever the case may be. But you talk about the narrative, it's like we all know mainstream media is bullshit. We all know it. But yet, to your point, it still commands a lot of power. Because like you stated, if you hear it enough, it's always in your face. You're like, damn, you start to gravitate to it. And again, we know a lot of people are just controlled by it. But
Brainwash.
at the same time, we all kind of know, like, hey, right, these people are controlled as far as what they're saying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yet we still kind of go with it. And how come black people don't have our own, I don't know, Facebook or whatever, Truth?
We do, but
What is it?
I don't know. But you dealing with.
Was it Black Planet?
Oh, is that what that is?
But-
I don't know.
but-
I don't know who
But
created
I'm
it.
gonna say this. I'm gonna say this.
Huh?
Like just like, but look at everything through history. Tulsa, the massacres.
Oh, Tulsa?
Yeah, Tulsa. All the massacres that get destroyed. But you dealing with an entity that knows now that violence isn't the key, is saturation of
So do
information.
you really believe that if we started something like that now, that they
Yes.
would still try to destroy it in the same
Yes.
fashion in
Yes.
2025?
Yes.
What do you think
Yes.
so, Blue?
Yeah, I don't think unless we have enough unity, so to speak, people to get behind and like, no, we're not gonna let this happen. Like I see a lot of black people say, we're not gonna be slaves again. We're not doing that. And I don't know, to the degree that, people are gonna have us, out in the field, or you sleeping in this house and whipping if you get out of line. I don't think that's gonna happen. But they got way worse ways now, I feel like, where they still put the constraints on us. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
hands down.
So it's kind of like,
Quiet, it's not in your face anymore.
yeah, and they marginalize us in every way,
Every way,
from
yeah.
finances, credit, getting loans. You get my point. But
Right.
when is there going to be a point where we all come together and say, you know what, enough's enough?
Enough's
Because
enough.
I feel like they paint the narrative that we're a minority. What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like we're minor? Or is that numbers? Is that saying it's more of y'all than it is us? Or is that saying we're lesser?
You mean mentality wise?
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think it's multifaceted in terms of like what they're trying to.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, okay, we know the narrative is bullshit, but yet we don't have any type of black owned, I don't know, platform where we can just our own like news, our own whatever, where we can just kind of talk amongst each other. That's not regulated and restricted by them.
Somebody always sells us out.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, if we did create it, then who's gonna how they gonna infiltrate it and break it down, and what are we gonna do to protect it?
IEBET.
You know, if one person is like, man, I'm up, they offer me this or whatever, you know, to change their situations. If you get somebody who ain't got it, yeah, man. Like,
So you saying you could be bought if you had your own? Damn, it took you too long to answer.